Hello, world. Welcome to Pro Saints Talk's first podcast. Thank you for joining us. Today we're short two of our horsemen. Boogie is spreading his Who Dat knowledge overseas. But we're not going to worry about who's not here. We're going to worry about who is here. Ronnie, where are we tuning in from tonight?
Tuning in from the Red Stick. Red Stick Ron, reporting for duty.
And then where do we sit in the Superdome, Ron?
Oh, you can find Ron in section 326.
And we're going to be missing out on the Godfather tonight. He's not going to be joining us either. So we have to go with what we have. And let's just jump into it, Ron. We have the first depth chart that came out. What are some of the things that jumped out to us? We'll start at the top of the position. We'll start with quarterback. What did you see there, Ron?
Well, I mean, you got a backup battle. Obviously, you got all the hype surrounding Taysom Hill. And, whether that hype is more focused around his special teams play than his quarterback play. I think everybody wants it to be Hill. We'll see what comes out. I mean, if Hill's not ready, might just keep him as a gunner for what Peyton wants to use him for. But, Savage, guy that's been bouncing around the league for a real long time, hasn't really done much of anything anywhere. So, not really a guy you get excited about at backup, but hey, why are we even talking about backup? We got a guy called Drew Brees. If we're talking backup, our hopes and dreams for this season are, they're down the toilet.
I disagree wholeheartedly here. Okay, what did we learn last year from the Packers? Packers lose their quarterback, and then what happened? Their season goes down the toilet. Eagles lose their quarterback, and they still win the Super Bowl. So you can't just say the backup quarterback doesn't matter. And I think for the first time in a long time that is interesting. Not because we have a dual threat quarterback and a Storm and Mormon at that, but Savage is just scary. I had more faith in Chase Daniel last year. We had more faith in Verizon McCown. And it just feels better when you have something. I mean, of course, we're going to go 4-12 without Drew Brees. Yes. But when it's Savage, I think that is the worst we've ever looked at the backup quarterback position. And it's fun to have a guy like Hill back there that is going to bring a different dimension to this offense that we've never had. I mean, Aaron Brooks could run a little bit, especially his first year he ran a lot. But having a running quarterback with Kamara, with the running backs we're going to put out there the first 4 weeks, it's going to be fun. It could be fun. It'll be probably the most interesting thing to watch for this preseason. So I disagree that the backup quarterback isn't that interesting. I think this year, for the first time in a long time, it is. I
think you'd be asking a lot for Sean Payton to come up and revamp the offense mid-year to put in more read option and running options for Taysom Hill. We'd be in desperation mode at that point, and you'd see totally an offense almost entirely run through Kamara and Ingram, and I think we all know that.
Wouldn't that desperation mode with Hill be a lot better than Savage being a poor man's Drew Brees? I'm
not arguing with you there. Yeah.
And then
I think you got a much higher upside with Taysom Hill. I think you know what you have with Savage at this point, and you just hope he's not going to be the guy that totally blows it for you.
Well, and then hopefully Hill finds a way to sneak in. And that's going to come out tomorrow night in the preseason. That'll be fun. I think the big question with Hill is obviously the arm strength. I've been saying Taysom. You're really supposed to pronounce it Taysom. The arm strength is going to be the issue. So that's what we're going to watch out for, because the speed's there. He's savvy. He's smart. But how the ball comes out of his arm is going to be what's most interesting tomorrow night. Running backs, they had Ingram and Kamara both at the 1, which is not a surprise, even though Ingram's at the first 4. And then the next running backs are Vereen. When we signed these guys, Vereen and West, I didn't love it. I love our new guys. I think Boston Scott's going to bring a lot to the table. He went to California this summer to train with Drew Brees. And when you hear about guys putting in the extra effort in the summer in the OTAs early, you seem to see that develop into the actual game. It seems like the little things in the offseason, like a little injury here, translates to a bigger thing in the regular season. And the little things that Boston Scott did might translate to big things in the regular season. And this guy might be Sproles 2.0, just a little guy that can run, power lifter strong. He's got a lot of similarities there. And then Williams, the guy from 6th-round draft pick out of Arkansas, I liked him more than Vereen and West. So I thought that was a bit early to push the panic button and get the running backs. What do you think?
I think it's camp, and you need bodies. You need guys to take some reps away from Alvin Kamara, because I think we all know we need him for the regular season. But to your point on Boston Scott, I think he's right. I think he's right in line with all the caliber players that Peyton loves to get in his offense. You know, this guy's a little scatty. I'm just thinking about a Travaris Cadet, you know, with a little higher upside here. So I think the fans are going to be rooting for him. I think that'll be one of the highlights of the preseason, is to really see if this guy can. You know, the fans are just itching for him to do something great and get behind him and really root for him to have a role on this team, and I think he's going to do it.
Yeah, he's a local guy at a lot of tech. So that would be an added dimension, a little hero, local boy. We've had our fair share of them. And, you know, Spearman, the list goes on and on. But, yeah, that would be more interesting. And if he makes the team, then you're looking at him as a return guy, and that would knock out Tommy Lee Lewis. So him making the team would really reshuffle other positions as well. But, yeah, I'm rooting to see him do well. Jonathan Williams out of Arkansas was really good. I'd like to see what he can do. Roto World's a big fan of his. The Denver Broncos, we signed him off their practice squad. They didn't want to see him leave. I'd like to see him a lot. I think what these guys can bring is better than what an age West and Vereen will bring to you. And the first 4 games we're going to go without Ingram. And he's played 16 games last year and the year before. Could this be a blessing in disguise that, you know, he rests early, other guys can start to get banged up, and then so we had the first 4 games are pretty easy relative to the rest of the season. We go Buccaneers, Browns, then at Atlanta, then at Giants. So 3 of those 4 are quite winnable, and then Falcons is a toss-up. So that could be a good stretch. You know, Ingram's resting on the sidelines, and then come week 5, we got the Redskins, then the bye, and then we got that stretch right there to take it on in the playoffs. Maybe Ingram comes in hard and just takes control of the season from there. Could that be how you see it playing out?
Oh, I mean, you could definitely see him coming in with fresh legs. I mean, I don't think there's any situation that I can see where you have something where he comes back and he doesn't come in and just immediately resume his role as your lead guy between the tackles. You know, you can't see him having any kind of Wally Pipp kind of moment here. We're patiently waiting on his return, and we're going to need him for that stretch. You know, after those first 4 games, it heats up quick.
Yeah, and then we can't overuse Kamara in those first 4 games. So going back to where this running back depth, these guys are getting a lot of carries because Kamara was most effective as part of a 1-2 punch. We can't completely rely on him and then start to wear him out too early in the season. So finding that other guy, whether it's Vereen, Williams, or what have you, that's imperative. Let's move to wide receiver. We all know Michael Thomas. We all know what he brings to the table. Is he a top 3, top 4 wide receiver in the NFL? I think definitely. I feel like it's fantasy. Definitely. And then Ted Ginn, is he going to get better than last year? Last year he had over 700 yards, receiving 4 touchdowns. It seemed like more. If you watch the highlights of our wins from last season, Ginn was everywhere. Every game he had a big play. Time in and time out. We used Ginn relentlessly. And that's only going to pick up more as the relationship between Breeze and Ginn continues to develop and grow. And I don't think there's any evidence that he's slowing down. He's in his 30s now. He's been around for, you know, a decade. We watched him at Ohio State when he broke his foot on that kick return touchdown, opened bowl game. Ted been around for a while. But I don't see any evidence of him slowing down, which is a relief because when you combine him with Traquan Smith, that's going to be very reminiscent to Super Bowl 44 run with Devery and Meacham. Just the big plays left and right. Meacham wasn't a very sexy wide receiver, but he got it done. At times we laughed at him. I think Traquan Smith kind of has that playing style. Like he runs a bit goofy, like the back of his heels kick his butt. He catches with his body, but the proof is in the pudding. The guy made plays left and right in college, so he's a bit unorthodox like Meacham, but I predict his touchdowns, his production, his yards are going to be very Meacham-esque, comparing a third rounder to a first rounder. And then it gets kind of exciting with what's next. Because your third guy is going to be Meredith. And the comparisons you keep hearing this all season is Marcus Colston light, the Diet Coke version of Marcus Colston, which would be the balance this team needs at wide receiver. Because remember the Vikings game last year? We were just watching it. Just like, there are no weapons. There's nothing for Drew to check down to. There's nothing for Drew to do with the ball. He can't just go Kamara Thomas. And that's how the team kind of played out last year. So just more steady weapons with Meredith is going to be.
Well, not to cut you off there, but I feel like you definitely noticed it on third down, right? That was what you heard all year long, was how bad we were on third down for as good of an offense as we were. So I guess just every drive we were scoring, we never got the third down. But going back to your point on Ted Ginn, look, I hope you're right, because this team needs that take the top off the defense receiver. And, hey, if Traquan Smith's that guy, great. I have a hard time believing that Ted Ginn's going to be getting better going into his year 33 season. That just doesn't happen these days. I know Drew Brees can help guys find the fountain of youth, and he's done it before with a lot of our elder statesmen that we've brought in before. But, you have a hard time seeing, look, I know the guy can run, and was last year a fluke? Was it a blip on the radar? He had the highest catch rate he's ever had. That's un-Ted Ginn-like. Guy's always been butterfingers. Maybe Drew Brees just throws a catchable ball. I don't know. But I don't be surprised if this is the beginning of the end for Ted Ginn this year.
No.
I think the light at the end of the tunnel is Traquan Smith. I think he's our guy going forward that's going to be taking the top off of defenses. And your point on Cameron Meredith, I've actually heard some comparisons to maybe a Michael Thomas light. Runs great routes, really strong hands. Hey, look, and whether you're comparing him to Marcus Colston or Michael Thomas, I mean, that's pretty good company. And if we get another guy that can get open on third down, that's just what this offense needs.
Well, I'm going to read you some names, and you tell me there's one spot available remaining. And you can maybe say two if you include special teams. But most likely, one guy out of these will get the job. Brandon Tate, Tommy Lee Lewis, Josh Huff, Michael Floyd, Austin Carr. Who is it and why?
It's tough. I'm leaning Tommy Lee Lewis just because of his experience with the team last year, his return capability. Even though he was really inconsistent, one of these guys that's a preseason phenom, but then gets into real gameplay and had some muffed punts, had some drop balls, had his moments, but so I don't know if that hurts him maybe, where they know what they have with him. Or maybe they think he's really still getting better. But either way, I think it's Tommy Lee Lewis just for the diverse skill set. And I think they see a little bit in him. I think they think he's still got some improvement that he can make.
I agree. I thought it was just gross.
All that being said, they carried Austin Carr all year long last year.
Yes, they love him.
So do they
love
see something
Carr.
there?
He even started in the Vikings game, the most important game of the season. Let me throw at you a weird name. Josh Huff, they say, is riddled with talent. And the fact that he's still on the team after he got suspended this offseason, I think that's quite telling. I think, long story short, the answer is Tommy Lee Lewis. These other guys aren't going to play special teams, especially Michael Floyd. In this stage of their career, they need an injury. They need multiple touchdowns in the preseason to have a shot at it. Camp bodies, like you said earlier. The guy we didn't say, the man not in the room, is Brandon Coleman. Sean Payton alluded to bringing him back. We know what he is. He's a good blocker, a very average receiver. Boy, that Jets game, the Dome was ready to pounce on him when he had those two big fumbles. But he's had some big plays, big games in his career too. That Arizona Cardinals game 3 years ago in the desert. He's very hot and cold in the receiving end. Great blocker. You know what you get out of him. Doesn't really play special teams. He's not on the team, no different. He's on the team, no different. He's just one of those guys I don't think is going to make or break the team. But
yeah,
speaking of breaking...
I think you said it best right there. We're not going to win any games because we had Brandon Coleman. We're not going to lose any because we don't have.
So, speaking of breaking your team, I'm going to read you some new names. Ben Watson, Josh Hill, Michael Hooman, Garrett Griffin. Let me repeat this again. Ben Watson, Josh Hill, Michael Hooman, Garrett Griffin. These are your tight ends. We went into the offseason with a huge need at tight end, and this is what we walk away with. How did we get to this point?
We struck out. We struck out in free agency, and then apparently we just didn't like anybody else enough to go after them. And I really hope we don't live in regret this year. I mean, it just feels like you said, we whiffed, we missed, and it's too little, too late. We're crying over spilt milk. We're in camp. This is what we got to work with. Yeah, I mean, it's sad.
It's ugly. And for a long time, we were both in the Dome saying to each other, you know, Josh Hill's got it. Josh Hill, he's like a Dave Thomas Wendy's type. You know, whenever he's out there, he makes plays. Whenever he gets his chance in the spotlight, he's going to take full advantage. And when he did last year, he disappointed. I think we can all remember that Deion Jones play in the Falcons away game, where it was a one-on-one situation with Josh Hill. You could blame it on Drew Brees all you want. That was just his moment right there. And maybe it was a poor thrown ball, but that was to win the game. Jump ball between Jones and Hill lets it go. I've always thought he was going to turn the corner and take the bull by the horns as our number one tight end, and I wish he had, but he just hasn't. And then we bring in Ben Watson, who was great 3 years ago, but he tore his Achilles since then. Played with Joe Flacco since then. What are we going to get out of him? I don't know. Luckily, we have enough weapons all over the offense to make up for it. It's just a bit scary that that's who we're running out with week one.
Yeah, I agree. And you just think about the storied history of tight end usage in the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era. And yeah, it's, but they've done it with the no names, you know, they've done it before. So look, anything's possible, you know, and look, another person people are going to be eyeing up in preseason, Deion Yelder. Look, Western Kentucky Hilltopper, throw it all over the field offense. You know, maybe we get lucky. Maybe this guy shows us something in camp and in preseason here. You know, and look, can't rule out going out and get somebody in free agency if it really turns south. You know, if we're struggling to get, you know, any productivity there, I don't think they'll hesitate to make a move. But you know, who's out there? I don't know.
Yeah, a big name would have to get cut, and I think we were all on our phones. We were all calling and texting and following Twitter nonstop when it sounded like as if we were moments away from getting Jimmy Graham, and then boom, we get the notice. Okay, your boy's going to the Packers, and that was so deflating. I thought we had him in the bag. I thought he was a fish in the net that we were bringing into the boat. And lo and behold, he goes to the Packers, who have about as good a shot as we do going to the Super Bowl. That's dumb, because that would have been so much fun to bring him back to the Dome one more year. Because that was some of the highlights of the Drew Brees era was him and Jimmy Graham. And to bring that magic back would have been too much fun.
And I personally think he kind of needed to come back for his legacy. Not to get too off,
and get his mind
not
right.
to get too off topic, but think of Saints fans' idea of or their memory of Jimmy Graham right now. A lot of bad taste left in the mouth. Despite him being our best tight end in franchise history, and arguably just one of the best offensive players we've ever had. Some of the most athletic highlights in Saints history are going to be his. And, I mean, how fired up would you get when he'd catch a seam route pass and just bulldoze the safety and get up stomping? You just love the guy. And I hate that it ended so poorly. And
it turned sour.
The sour taste in your mouth. But
the Dome used to rock.
Crying over spilt milk. He's a Packer now, so we can continue to hate him, I guess.
Yeah. Hate to have that hate in your heart. But hey, let's go from a poor part of our offense to strength, offensive line. We got Unger leading the charge at center. Armstead, who is as good as it gets when he's healthy. Pete next to him. Warford on the right. Ramrod the right tackle. Is that equally as strong as you've seen the offensive line, the Drew Brees era?
It's a tough question because, I did have to think, look, high praise for this starting offensive line, right? But let me just read you off a different starting offensive line. See how you feel about this one right here. Jamal Brown, Carl Nicks, Jonathan Goodwin, Jari Evans, John Stinchcomb. And maybe it's not the starters that I'm reading off to you now, but backup tackles, Sherman Bushrod, Zach Street.
Yes,
ding. That's the 09 offensive line and backup tackles that eventually became starters that year. That's ridiculous in hindsight. We didn't know how good we had it back then. Now, look, our starters this year, Armstead, Pete, Unger, Warford, Ramczyk, you'd be hard-pressed to find 5 more solid starters. But here's the difference. Backup tackles. Jermon Bushrod, who's really a guard at this point, but they got him listed as your backup tackle. And then Michael Ola, who? Yeah.
If you read Michael Ola, he's been on every team. He's played a half a season on every team's practice squad. I don't know what we're getting out of him. Just a veteran.
You just,
all he is.
And what do we deal with every year? We deal with injuries. And I think you and I talked about this, Mambo, last year. And we talked about how it's got to be next man up, and you got to have the next man up, have success, and be that guy. And that's what makes special years special. Every team, every year has injuries. Next guy up is worse, plays worse, and the team is worse. But it's those special teams that hey, quote a great man, Robert Meacham, you don't have to be on special teams to make special plays. It's those backups that come in and are playmakers for you, and they seize the moment, and they truly are next year's starters. We've got a few of those guys, like Ramczyk, coming in. But you just look at the depth, and you don't see it. Look, hey, we can all buy into the hometown hype on Will Clapp. That's going to be one of the guys I'm watching tomorrow night, along with all the other Tigers in the Deep South here. But, man, you just gotta be really concerned here if you lose Armstead or if you lose Ramczyk. Who's filling in?
I wholeheartedly agree. Look at last year. Last year, Shreve went out early in the year. Ramrod came in, filled in admirably, didn't skip a beat. Boom, same thing. Armstead goes out, Pete goes to left tackle, Clemente goes to left guard, and then Warford got hurt many injuries occurred throughout the course of the season, and then the Revis had to get in. So you're looking at 2 to 3 guys that have to play on as your backups. And right now our backups, you said Michael Ola, you said Jermon Bushrod, you said Clapp. That's kind of scary. That's your front 3. Then you have Cameron Tom. We don't really know who he is. WWL loves him. And you have Landon Turner, who's just a big human being, and we don't know anything about him beyond that. He really isn't going to play much. That might be your guy that comes in if Armstead goes down, Pete goes to left tackle, and then Turner's your starter. How comfortable are we with that? Drew Brees has not that much left in the tank, and this is how we're going to protect him. Draft day, offensive line was certainly a need that we were all scratching our heads saying, hey, let's address this. Hey, let's address this. Hey, let's address this. Again, I'll be following the waiver wire this offseason for a big name to come in to help give us some depth.
Yeah, I mean, not to belabor this, but let me paint you a picture. It's week 8. Teron Armstead's out with an ankle injury for 4 weeks, and Larry Warford's dinged up. And so now you're 2 down on the line, and you're at Minnesota, home against the Rams, at Bengals, home against the Eagles, home against the Falcons in 5 weeks. How do you feel about that? Not great. Not great. So, yeah, you got to hope that some of these guys step up. And it's hard to grade backup offensive linemen in preseason because they're going up against backups. So, I mean, you just really need to look at those one-on-one matchups and see who's winning them. Because, yeah, we got to figure this out. Hopefully we're talking about a moot point, but just go back to just about any successful year, and you'll see names where guys have stepped up mid-year, spot starts, and you only hear their name called once, and that's a good thing for an offensive lineman.
How does it rank to all the Sean Payton, Drew Brees offenses? Is it going to be the top 2, as good as 2014, Super Bowl year? Not quite that good, just as good. Of all the teams we've put out there offensively, how does it stack up?
The entire offense? I mean, look, obviously 2011, number 1, 09, it's got to be 2. But this has a shot, I think, to be 3rd. I don't know if they can be better than 09 because 09 just had magic. But, hey, possibilities there. I'm skeptical with not no tight end, but weak tight end contributors. But, hey, they strike gold with Traquan Smith. They could really have some magic here. Kamara going into his 2nd year, assuming no sophomore slump. Yeah, I could see this being the 2nd or 3rd best offense we've ever put out there.
All right. Before we move on to defense, we're getting word. We have to get a word from our sponsor. Are you between the ages of 15 and 19 looking to find the best place in town to drink a cold beer and a Jaeger bomb? Well, come and check out Friar's Mug Shop for Red Street in Soniat. Now offering sushi. All right. Now we've got the sponsorship out the way. We can continue. Defensive end. We know who Cam Jordan is. Is he going to play all year again? Every snap?
I think he has to. He owes it to us. Guy's an all-pro. Why would he do anything less? No, I'm just kidding. Look, last year was an insane effort out of this guy. I mean, week in, week out, he was a soldier. I mean, just kept his head down and played like one of the best in the league. You could not have asked for anything more out of the guy. Freaking interceptions, touchdowns. The guy did everything for us. And look, is the guy going to be able to match that effort? Could he? Absolutely. It's going to be hard to do that, obviously. But, hey, I think he's got a pretty good supporting cast around him this year. So I expect a very similar effort out of him, honestly. He's one of those guys, he's going to want to be out there. So it's going to have to be an intentional effort by the staff to keep him off the field for that amount of plays because the guy is just an every snap kind of player. He's got that motor and he's got that want to. He's the leader out there and he leads by example. So you're asking me if he can do it again, I think absolutely.
And how confident are we in Okafor coming after the Achilles tear from that Redskins game?
I think the better question is how confident is Okafor? And it sounds like he's really confident. It sounds like he's gotten some really good reassurance from the doctor and post-op. You know, saw the quote where he said he can't tear it again after a repair. So he feels better about putting even more on that Achilles. So I think you're going to see him really push his limits here in preseason and in camp. And I fully expect he's going to find the same groove that he had for us last year.
I would love him to be as good as he was last year. He was a Nick Fairley surprise last year. And if he repeats that success, it takes a lot of pressure off the elephant in the room, Marcus Davenport. We were together draft night. The early reports on Davenport have been bad all the way around. He's getting tattooed in practice by Armstead. He already got injured twice. He seems to be a bit of a head case, putting a little too much pressure on himself because he feels as though he has to justify the 2 first-round picks. And in a lot of ways, this guy just has to be a project. Now, was drafting a project with 2 first-round picks the right move when the goal is to win now? And everything is about winning now. And nothing about Davenport right now is about winning now.
Hey, I was going to say, I think you answered your own question there. Yeah. Obviously, we all wanted to believe that we traded up and got the guy that's going to be the pass rush specialist. He's going to come in and be that impact rookie, relieve Cam Jordan, eventually, pass the baton. And you just can already tell from all the media coverage that they are just setting the tone for the fan base that, hey guys, don't expect much out of this guy this year. And it's so depressing. And yeah, we can go highlight other position groups that are looking great and all the other parts of the team that are on the up and up. But yeah, if this guy doesn't contribute this year, it's going to be a real black eye for Ireland after a couple of real solid drafts. So yeah, I mean, I hope he can contribute, obviously, for the success of the team, but really for the reputation of the front office and just, for this season. I think we all know what's at stake this year. We got high expectations this year. It's now or never.
The easiest way to judge a move, today the Pelicans signed Jahlil Okafor, and you get all excited because you got your heart into the team, and you love the move because you have these high expectations that are a bit unrealistic, but you just love it because it's your hometown team. Think about it the other way. If the Panthers did it, or if the Falcons made this move, if the Falcons used 2 first-round picks on Marcus Davenport, would you be scared or would you laugh at them? We would laugh at them. And that's how you can kind of tell where this pick is going.
And look, do you remember how good Julio Jones was in college? I mean, we all were relieved when they gave up so much to get him, and he's actually panned out. So yeah,
but we were terrified when we drafted him.
Well, but anytime you see your rivals giving up that many draft picks, yeah, you feel better because you're like, oh man, we got more shots.
So Hendrickson, I think we'll see more of the same. He was building and building and building last year. He can contribute if Davenport really can't.
So what did he do?
Good...
Well, let's talk about Hendrickson. So last year, what did he have? 3 sacks or so?
That sounds about right. I can remember
the
Cam Newton sack. No, I don't think he's going to get playing time. Depends on the Okafor injury. And if Kikaha makes the team, we'll get to Kikaha when we get the linebackers. But I don't think he's going to get 6. I think I take the under on that, but not by much.
He's going to get the playing time. I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities.
If he's getting 6 sacks, that means Davenport's not, and that means Okafor re-injured himself.
What did we just get done talking about? We just got done talking about the project that is Marcus Davenport. Dude,
but that means our biggest fears are coming to fruition. And this is only chapter 1. And we're judging a guy 2 weeks into his professional career. So everyone out there can say, the world can say, y'all are jumping the gun big time. Let this rookie be a rookie. Because it took Cam Jordan a while to get to where he is.
Probably getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm just reading the writing on the wall, man.
Agreed. Jonathan Sullivan. Speaking of Jonathan Sullivan, with the defensive tackle, the top three guys are terrific. Onyemata was a surprise last year. He was a project that panned out and has turned into a damn good DT. Sheldon Rankins has gotten better by the game. A bit disappointing as a first-round pick as a whole, and all eyes are on him to turn the corner. And in camp, they're saying he's unblockable. I expect Rankins to get significantly better, not turn into an all-pro or a pro bowler by any means like that, but a good Cedric Ellis, a good contributing DT. And then Davison had a terrific playoffs last year against the Panthers. He was all over their backfield. I think he can carry that over to this year. So it's been a while since we had depth at DT. Probably most Saints fans can't remember an era where we had DT depth. And it's fun to say that we have it. It's important on defense. And I think in all the years we were horrendous on defense is because we didn't have that wrecking ball surge right off the line to impact the play. Now we have it. And that's only going to help Cam Jordan's and the Okafor's out even more. And then that fourth DT, I don't know who it's going to be. He might not even be on the roster right now, but I don't see him getting all that much playing time.
Yeah, I agree. And then, what you didn't mention is it's going to help out those linebackers, which is a perfect segue. You're welcome.
Yeah. So if you look at the depth chart, we have Demario Davis outside. I think most people remember him with the Jets as an inside linebacker. He was a very under the radar signing. He's going to be Jonathan Vilma-esque, coming from the Jets, coming to the Saints, and just taking this defense by the horns and taking control. Going to love to see that. You and I loved Teo and Robertson last year, the junkyard dog. And to me, I scratched my head thinking, why aren't they getting the shot to start again? And I thought they played well enough to deserve it. Coaches prefer Klein and Anzalone. Who would you take?
It's situational, honestly. I know people hate on Craig Robertson for coverage, but man, the guy just gives you the effort. And when he gets to the quarterback, he gets a good hit on him. When he gets to the running back in the backfield, he doesn't miss. But hey, Teo, he proved it last year. I mean, how many gaps did he shoot late in the year on third and short? The guy put up. And so, look, I'm perfectly fine with him being the starting middle linebacker. I think he earned it. And I feel great about his relief. And just having Anzalone back healthy too. I really like having two solid backup linebackers. I mean, when was the last time we had this kind of depth at linebacker that we felt good about? It's been a long time.
And then that leaves two names for one position, Nate Stupar and Kikaha. Who's the guy?
I haven't seen Kikaha play a lick of special teams. I think he's on the chopping block this year. I think he's done. We've been waiting too long. We knew injuries were an issue. Yeah, we knew injuries were an issue when we got him, and we thought, oh man, well maybe he can stay healthy and be that pass rush guy. He couldn't, and now he's not even on the D line anymore. They're trying him at linebacker. It's a desperation tactic, and unless he just strikes gold here at linebacker, which we would have already heard about it by now, he's done.
If Kikaha isn't rushing the quarterback and he's guarding a running back on a wheel route, like Michael Maldi last year, how terrified, how confident are we that he's just going to get burnt? That is terrifying. They would pick him apart in coverage. So he's a one-trick pony as a blitzer, and he's really not that great at that. And you love the guy, you root for him. He's got a good story, but this is the end. Thank you, Kikaha. We appreciate you for everything you've done for the 4 years now, but it's over. It's a shame because him and Stephon Anthony, we had such high hopes for them after that rookie year. We thought the sky was the limit with these two. We thought it was Pat Swilling and Vaughn Johnson, all over again. And boy, did their stock crash rapidly. Now, last but not least is DBs. We have great cornerbacks for the first time in a long time between Lattimore, Crowley, and P-Rob. Even though we brought P-Rob back, I just don't think he's going to be the same player he was for the Eagles. Ron, you disagree or agree?
I have to agree just because can lightning strike twice? I mean, maybe it's just all the Saints fans that are so convinced that he was a bust and just could not believe that he found success somewhere else. Maybe Dennis Allen can figure out whatever the heck they were doing with him in Philly that made him such a good slot corner. But yeah, hopefully we can find that same magic and he can be that nickelback for us.
And then the fourth guy right now is P.J. Williams, and the fifth guy will be Mollett or Hardy, whoever wins out on special teams. How much faith do we have in them?
Whoa.
I
didn't hear you say Devontae Harris.
Gross. I just grew up. I don't know how he's still on the team. I don't know who to compare him to. But just some guys that just never go away.
Chance. Everybody deserves
Ryan
a second
Finner
chance.
on the Falcons.
Or a third, or fourth, or a fifth chance.
I don't know if you know the definition of the word deserve. I'm ready to see him go. I think every Saints fan that sat through the first 3 weeks of the season last year is ready to see him go.
So when he gets on the field tomorrow, I'm assuming he's going to play tomorrow, will he get booed?
No, because the game's in Jacksonville, so they'll probably cheer for him because that gives the quarterback a pretty good shot to make some plays. But the depth, to answer my own question, isn't that great, but it's better than it's been before. And like in every other position, the depth is good. Free safety, Marcus Williams. How much do we love him?
Love him to death. Guy's gonna be great. I'm not concerned in the least about what happened last year. It's not even worth talking about. The guy's gonna be great. He's on the up and up.
That play's gonna make him better. That'll just be the springboard to the rest of his career. And then at strong safety, we have Coleman and Bell. Who's starting? It looks like Coleman. And Von Bell's going to have a similar role he had last year behind Vaccaro, but constantly on the field. Because you're going to see a lot of two linebackers out there with an extra DB, and that being Von Bell. And he's competent. He's one of those many Ohio State guys we brought in that just roll. So all the way at corner safety, probably one of the best we've seen in a while, and that's fun to have because when you're just getting torched with the Jason Davids and the Fred Thomases and the Browners, that's about as hard of a Sunday afternoon as you can endure. And it doesn't seem like this team is going that route. Crazier things have happened, obviously, but we finally look safer out there in that department. Let's move on. We got through the entire roster in microscopic detail. I think it takes a true hootout to really appreciate what we just did. Tomorrow night, what are some of the things that we're looking for in the first preseason game?
Well, I think we already harped on some of them, so I'll just hit them, real big, high level. I think we're looking for running back usage, who's stepping up, who's making plays. Definitely going to be looking at backup offensive linemen. Looking at the return game, that was one thing we hadn't dissected, but, who do you like between Tommy Lee Lewis and Boston Scott?
I'd like to see Boston Scott, but I have a feeling we're going to go with Tommy Lee Lewis. I just don't want to see Ted Gitt out there. You already addressed his age. He's got to make plays at wide receiver, not kick returner.
And I don't feel great in his hands. I know what he did last year for us, but that's unlike him. So, yeah, I don't feel crazy about putting him back as a punt returner.
I'm just looking for Taysom Hill. He's fun. That is just a dimension. It might just be wishful thinking what he can do, and maybe he's just more of a fairy tale than actual nonfiction. But it's just fun to talk about, and hopefully it gives more ammo for the next podcast. Davenport, obviously, is a big showcase that we're going to keep our eyes on tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be looking at guys coming off injury, right? You know, you want to see how Okafor looks. You want to see how Anzalone works, how he works out, Ben Watson. So you just want to see some of these guys and how they're responding coming off injury, because we're counting on them.
So enough about our eyes. Now we're moving to our ears. How is Treef going to sound in his first game tomorrow night as play-by-play next to Deuce?
Man, I'll be intrigued. I'll be definitely tuned in. Sound up, TV down, because I think everybody's rooting for him, but everybody has a good, healthy concern. I mean, I've been trying to come up with a good analogy for this, and I really haven't found one. But I mean, yeah, the guy played football. He goes from retiring to being the lead play-by-play guy for an NFL franchise in the same summer. It really doesn't add up. Only in New Orleans, I guess. But yeah, still fan favorite. People are gonna be rooting for him. But man, I just heard some snippets, and I heard some commentary from some fans after the black and gold scrimmage. Said it sounded like they were listening to Louisiana prep football. So reason for concern. But hey, you know, you and I, will be in the Dome on home Sundays, I guess, at least, as some consolation.
To me, I compare it to when the Zephyrs changed their name to the Baby Cakes. And everyone thought it was silly, and yet we all talked about it that entire off season. We don't talk about WWL at all. And radio's dying. And the fact that Shreve was brought on might just be an indication that they have to make a big splash to be relevant again. Because like you just said, we're watching the game, at the game. If we're not there, we're watching the game, and next to us we have Red Zone. So maybe the fact that they're bringing in Shreve, a guy who's not trained in the technical aspect of play-by-play, like a Bob Licht or a Graf or a Myers, this must just be a big boom to get more attention to WWL. Because that is working, if that's the plan. It's definitely working and interesting.
That's deep. That's pretty deep. I didn't even think about the whole downturn of radio. Everybody goes to a sports bar to watch the game. You never really listen to it. It's really just for like the working man that's got it on in the background. But you can't argue. You can't argue people are listening in regardless during games. They're finding a way to turn up the radio. Definitely for the point after. But I don't know. I doubt the Saints thought about it that way. I really think they just thought, oh, this is an easy hire. We'll just bring this guy in. To me, it was lazy.
Well, we thank everybody for joining us on our first edition of Pro Saints Talk. Next week, we'll have more guests. We'll have all four horsemen with us. Boogie will be back from overseas. The Godfather will be able to join us. Other guests you can hope to see and hear. We got the doctor who's going to be able to diagnose injuries as they happen a bit more accurately and reliably than the team physicians with the New Orleans Saints. We got the New Yorker calling in to talk college football and the draft, and a plethora of other options coming to entertain you all. Ronnie, will you give them one last words of wisdom before we sign off here?
Look, we already previewed it pretty well. I think we all know what all we expect this year and what all we're hoping for. Let's hope that this is the start of something magical, and just harken back to those 2009 days and special players making special plays.
We thank you and we love you. This podcast dream would only be a dream if not for Andrew Simmons behind the ones and twos doing the hard part. So a big shout out to our sound engineer, Andrew Simmons.